Good morning, or afternoon, I should say. This is Larry Lee, and we are conducting our class called CMMI 101, the Fundamentals. And I will get started here right away with the slideshow that we have, but I just wanted to welcome you this morning, and we will get started right away. Here we go. Let me get this started. Well, once again, my name is Larry Lee. I'll be your trainer for today. And once again, this class is CMMI 101, the Fundamentals. And we will continue going through our slideshow here. What is our agenda for the day? It is to discuss what CMMI is, and then the purpose of this training, why you're here, why you are involved in this, CMMI's models, its products and processes, the process areas that are a part of CMMI, what goals and practices are, how we move forward with improvements for NDi, self-checks or internal audits, external audits, and finally, why should I care? And then at the end of that, we'll pause to see if anybody has any questions. So let's roll forward here. So first of all, what is CMMI? Why are you here? What's the reason that we're even talking about this? Well, CMMI stands for Capability Maturity Model Integration, and it is a process improvement training and appraisal program in order to allow our company or any company to improve on their processes in order to improve their efficiency and ultimately to improve on their product. It is a process improvement approach or model that is a structured collection of practices that describes the characteristics of effective processes that are proven by experience to be effective. In other words, it's basically a set of best practices for your industry, and we'll talk about that in a slide in a little bit. But basically, they've looked across the industry and determined what is working for other companies in the same type of industry, and have set forth these effective processes or best practices, if you will, so that we can improve as a company and as individuals as well. Furthermore, CMMI provides a set of effective practices that address productivity, performance, costs, and stakeholder satisfaction. And who are stakeholders? Stakeholders are really anybody involved in our case, in a project. For an example, of our development team, those that are doing the actual coding, our project managers, our executive team, actually our client, and any program managers they have. Those are all stakeholders, and they have a stake in the success of a project, and likewise a stake in the success of NDi and the client a stake in their success. So a stakeholder is anyone that has a stake in what's happening with a project, or in our case, for, NDi in general. CMI practices are organized for systematic evolutionary improvement of business processes. We certainly want to improve how we do things at NDi. By improving, we become more efficient and more competitive. CMMI is meant for process improvement, not process compliance. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're looking to look internally into ourselves to see what we do and how we do it so that we can improve on our own, not by way of a set of rules or standards, as you would see in something like ISO 9000. You may be familiar with that term, or some other kinds of business models. This is really an introspective kind of business model, and it causes us to look at ourselves and see what we're doing to see if we can improve upon ourselves and upon our processes. So it is a tool to help us improve, and it helps us to self-evaluate There's also external evaluations, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it is not a forced compliance, but it is for process improvement and ultimately product improvement. So further defined, CMMI is a set of interrelated activities which transform inputs into outputs to achieve a given purpose. In other words, what all we do to get to our end goal of our product, in our case, our project, our software, it's everything that we do to get to that end result. Those are our inputs, and we obviously want our output to be of the highest quality possible. So we are trying to achieve a given purpose of high quality software, and ultimately each project to be done in a high quality fashion. So it's a set of activities that will transform all of our processes, all of our work into that output of our software. And CMMI, furthermore, is the glue that ties together the triad of people, processes, and technology that make up a company. So in other words, if you look at a company, it's basically three things. It's the people that are involved, and it's the processes that we go through and use, as well as the technology that we use to get to the end goal of our product. And CMMI is the glue that works amongst all three of those things to make sure that we're doing everything efficiently, that we're doing it the best that we can. So that's why we call it the glue that binds everything together. So why are you here? What's the purpose of this training? It is to better acquaint NDi staff and management as to what CMMI is and how it can and will benefit not only NDi as an organization, but also how it will benefit everyone as our processes, products, and workflow quality and efficiency will improve. So you're here because we want you to improve as individuals, because as you improve as individuals and how you do your work, the processes that you use to do your work, then you will ultimately cause NDi as an organization to improve. And if NDi improves, then we have better customer satisfaction, our quality is better, our product is better. So that's why you're here. We're getting you acquainted with what CMMI is and what it means to NDi and what it means to you ultimately. CMMI is a business model that is really broken down into three functional business type models. CMMI has three different models. One of them is called CMMI for development, which is what NDi falls under. We are a software developer, so we fall under the development model, and that's how we will be evaluated. As well, it also breaks into another model called service, which would be service-oriented companies such as a travel agency. They provide a service. They don't provide a product so much as they do a service. So there's a specific area for them. As well, there's another model for CMMI called acquisitions. An example of something there would be for a component product or service purchasing company, such as an automaker. They purchase components to make an automobile. So they need to be sure that their suppliers are following set standards that the company wants them to follow so that they can have the highest product from their end. So a company that acquires component products or services in order to make their own product, they would fall under the acquisitions model. So as I've said before, NDi falls under the development and that's how we will proceed and be evaluated. The three models do share 16 common process areas that are looked at and evaluated in order to determine what your maturity level is as far as your processes and how you work. Each of the three specific models have also their own specific process areas. Likewise, the development area has its own areas in addition to the 16 commons. NDi falls under the development CMMI model. we are going to currently focus on 6 of the possible 22 process areas for improvement and subsequent review and audit for CMMI certification levels. We will talk about that as we get to it about external audits, but we have been audited a couple of years ago in 2014. We are ready to be audited in February for another certification level, and we will focus on 6 areas, 6 process areas for that out of a possible 22. So George Box, who is a quality and statistics engineer, states that all models are wrong, but some are useful, and NDi has determined that CMMI is a very useful model, and as such, we are striving to achieve ever higher levels of CMMI certification. We ultimately seek to move up what's called a ladder or a scale of maturity so that we show to the external auditors that we have institutionalized or internalized these processes, that they are the same across our entire organization, that we think alike and we do alike with everything that we do, that it is taken to heart as an organization. So what are products and processes? Products. It is an article or a substance that is manufactured or refined for sale, a thing produced by labor, something that is made or grown to be sold or used, or something that is the result of a process. That's how you would define a product. And certainly we fall under that. We manufacture and produce this software that we call our product, and it is produced by your labor in coding the software, and it is made to be sold, and it is the result of a process. We have processes, policies, and procedures in place that we use to get to that end product of our software. Furthermore, what's a process? It is a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. It's a sequence of interdependent and linked procedures which at every stage consume one or more resources, including employee time, energy, machines, money, to convert inputs such as data, material, or parts into outputs. So in order to get to a product, we have to go through a series of processes, actions, steps, procedures that we use to get to our final goal or product, if you will. So just by way of definition, that's what those things are, and that's what we will be looking at as we go forward with CMMI and NDi, that we will be looking at these processes, what we do in order to get to our product, and are we efficient at it? Are we doing what we should be doing, and are we doing it the best that we can do? What are process areas? We talked about that before when we talked about the models, such as a development model and what CMMI is as a model. Well, they are a cluster of related practices in an area that, when implemented collectively, satisfies a set of goals considered important for making improvement in that area. As an example, requirements management. So as we're looking to determine what is required for a project, we are going to be, requirements management is one of the process areas that we will be seeking to improve on, to show that we are internalizing that and doing that well. Furthermore, they have a consistent structure across all 3 models, and that structure or that content includes goals, practices, and informative material. That's what makes up a process area. That's how we evaluate ourselves. That's how the external auditors will evaluate us. So we know that when we look at process areas, they are very consistent in how they are structured and how we can evaluate our documents and artifacts, and do they match up with what we say that we're doing. So what are goals? There are 2 different types of goals. First, there are specific goals, and these are unique characteristics that must be present in order to satisfy the process area. there are specific goals for the requirements management, for risk management, for planning, for project management, for measurements and analysis, those kinds of things. There are certain specific unique characteristics that should be and must be in place and present in order for us to satisfy that process area. For example, requirements are managed, and inconsistencies with project plans and work products are identified. And as they're identified, then we go about verifying how we can fix any weaknesses in those areas. And the goal is obviously to fix weaknesses, to improve, to be more efficient, to be more satisfactory in that area. So what is this? Inside of specific goals then are specific practices. And each goal may have several practices that we are looking to fulfill. They are expected model components considered important in achieving the associated specific goal. For an example, we manage changes to the requirements as they evolve during the project. So if we're saying that we manage requirements from the start, we set up our requirements for a project, and we determine if there are any inconsistencies. Furthermore, we manage any changes to the requirements. As the project moves forward, certainly we know that requirements change from time to time, and things need to be done a little differently and reevaluated. So how do we manage that? How do we manage when something happens and we need to change something? We run across in a test that something isn't exactly what we thought at the beginning. How do we manage that? So that's what a specific practice is. We need to show that we have not only managed it, but how we manage it. So that's what a specific goal and a specific practice are. And those are two of the components of a process area. Furthermore, there's specific practice informative material. We need to show example work products. We need to show examples of what the final product is. If we have pieces of that, we show that artifact or that document. And furthermore, if we have sub-practices that are broken out of there, we may need to show that broken down. It may involve more than just one big practice that we do, or more than one big process. So we need to show those things in addition to the fact that we are handling the goal and the practices under them. On the other side, in addition to specific goals and specific practices, there are generic goals as well and generic practices. These generic goals are characteristics that are needed to actually institutionalize processes in a process area. So we said with specific goals that those were specific things, such as for requirements management. This says that we have actually institutionalized that requirements management is done the same way throughout the entire company. That Project A and Project B and Project C all do their processes the same way, that we start a project the same way, that we handle requirements management in the same way, we handle changes to requirements in the same way. No matter what the project, we do it the same way, that we've institutionalized it in essence. It is achievement in a process area signifies improved control in planning and implementing in a process area. So we show that for not just a single project, that we have set this up so that we improve in every project, that every new project is just done the same way as successful projects before. Once we've determined that we can do it successfully, we do it the same way all the time. And the same goal applies across multiple process areas. So these generic goals, they're going to look the same across all process areas, such as requirements management, risk management, measurements, and now all of those specific goals. There are generic goals that go along with them, and that shows that we have taken it to heart as a company, as an institution, that we will do this the same way all the time. For example, the process is institutionalized as a defined process, that we don't just say, okay, I'm going to do this project this way, I'm going to do this project another way. We have defined a process for how a project will be started and move forward as it goes, and how changes are handled. We've defined those processes. We've defined the policies and the procedures to move that project forward efficiently. That's what a generic goal does. So generic practices are the expected model components considered important in achieving the associated generic goal. The same practice applies across multiple process areas. For example, train the people performing or supporting the process as needed. So we know that training is needed. We need training. This, as an example, this is training, what we're doing right here. As well, you may train software developers in a little different way, but we are doing training across the company at different levels, but we are doing training so that they can perform and support the process area as needed. They can support and perform for the project as needed and efficiently. Well then, why improve? What does it matter to us? Well, in short, it is for us to do better with time, with money, and quality in ways that matter to our customers and to us. So in other words, we want to look at improving, because as we improve, we get more efficient. We get more efficient with our time. We get more efficient with money that it costs us to do a project. We get more efficient and better in our quality. And that matters not only to us, but it matters to our customers. The more customer satisfaction and the higher that we have, the better for NDi. Certainly, we look to our customers to spread the word that NDi is a successful firm, that we are successful at what we do and we do it well. It's also to improve our competitiveness. It is to lower our cost. It is to improve our product quality and reduce causes of poor performance. I know that in the past, we've all seen times when we've had poor performance and it doesn't go well. So in short, doing things the way that we do with CMMI and internalizing it and causing ourselves to look at ourselves and evaluate what we're doing helps us to improve in all these areas plus more. And we would want to have that so that we are more efficient, we are cost effective, and we're high quality, so that it matters to our customers and they will see that. And of course, then that's just good advertising for us. It's good for us as a company. It's good for us individually. So for us to be more efficient, I'm certain all of us would be very happy to have more time to be able to evaluate what we're doing and to be able to do even more to improve. Process improvement benefits. What are they? Improvements are more successful and sustained. So when we improve, we become even more successful, and these processes become sustained things that we continue to do time and time again, and we continue to build on them. They're like foundation blocks. As you do something well, you go back and evaluate that, and you look to what have you been doing? Is it working? And if it's working, how can we do it even better? So it becomes successful, and then it becomes sustained. And likewise, then it's more likely to use and introduce appropriate technology, techniques, and tools successfully. We certainly don't want to just throw technology willy-nilly into a process. We want to think through what it is we're doing. We want to evaluate it. Is this the right technology? Are these the right processes and techniques? And are these the right tools that we need to be successful in this project and as a company? So CMMI allows us to evaluate ourselves in that way so that we can do those things to the best of our ability. And it is also to develop our people to be more effective and to have more full potential. I'm certain all of us want to be more effective in what we do. We want to do good jobs. We want to work better. We want to work smarter. and we want to have high quality in our work individually. As much as NDi wants to have high quality in our product, in our work, we as individuals want to have high quality and to be more effective in what we do. So it helps us to develop our potential. An old saying with the Army, be all you can be. This, in a sense, helps us to be more in all that we can be. So we can be more effective for our team and for NDi. Bill Gates says, as a rule of thumb is that a lousy process will consume 10 times as many hours as the work itself requires. A good process will eliminate the wasted time, and technology will speed up the remaining real work. So here we have it from Bill Gates. We know he's quite successful. And I'm sure you've been involved in lousy processes before, and you've seen that when things are not done well, that it does take so much more time to go back and either fix something or to plug holes in something. And if you had a good process in place, it will help eliminate that wasted time. It'll help eliminate money and technology. And likewise, then, once we've got a process in place that's working well, then certainly our people and technology can really speed up what's left of the real work. And I'm sure you've seen that when you've had a good process in place, that the work really isn't as bad, and it's much easier, it's much more efficient, and more likely to get done in a good time and in good quality. So then we get down to, how do we evaluate ourselves? How do we look at ourselves introspectively? What do we do, and how do we really get down to, how do we improve? How can we look at that? Well, what we're doing at NDi and as a company are, and across October, November, and December, we are doing internal audits. We are doing these, typically internal audits are done once a quarter by a designated company employee not associated with projects. In other words, by someone that is not part of a project team, someone outside of the projects. They go and look at the process areas that we're going to be evaluated on, and they determine, are we doing what we say we do? We look at the policies and procedures that are in play, and we say we do things, and then in reality, are we doing that? And we look at all of the artifacts and various artifacts such as emails and meeting notes and project charters, all those kinds of things, and say, are we following what we say that we do in setting up and running a project? So typically that's done once a quarter. Our current status at NDi is that with an upcoming February external audit, we are doing 3 internal audits. We just did one here in October. We're doing one in November again, and we're doing a final one in December. This is in preparation for a February external audit. So we are going to be evaluating ourselves and looking at where we are as a company and seeing where our weaknesses are. So that helps us to not only get ready for an external audit, but it helps us to improve on our own. And certainly that then helps the external auditors to see that we are seeking to do things the right way. We are seeking to improve and to do better as a company and as a whole, not just at one project level, but as a whole, as NDi, we are seeking to do that and do that well. So in addition to that, how else do we go about doing self-checks? Well, we can constantly and consistently do monthly reviews. Typically, these are done on one or more process areas to maintain institutionalization or to verify quality control of processes and products. So in other words, we look at 6 process areas as a company. On a monthly basis, we might take 1 or 2 of those process areas and review them a little more closely and say, okay, are we doing well with requirements management? How is that going? How is our process planning and control going? we look at specific areas each month and kind of scrub ourselves, if you will, so that we continue to maintain our institutionalization of these processes and process areas, making sure that we stay in line and stay on the tracks. So we do internal audits across all of the process areas that we're going to be evaluated on, but then each month we look at specific process areas so that we just keep ourselves on track as we go forward, and then that helps us to be prepared for these external audits as they come up every 3 years. So we just talked about external audits. What are they? Well, they are typically done once every 3 years by an outside appraisal firm that is not associated with NDi. We are in contract with an outside firm that will come in here at the beginning of the year. Our current status is that we have what's called a risk assessment evaluation in January, where they will come in and have a look at these 6 process areas that we're going to be evaluated on, and take a look at us and see, well, how's it going? And in what areas are you showing weakness? And then they will come back to us and say, well, here's where we find that you're weak in what you say that you do. You're not showing us that you're doing that well here and here and here. So in other words, this kind of is an upfront meeting, an upfront evaluation to tell us how they're going to be looking for us to improve on these weak areas when they come back in February. Then they will do a full CMMI maturity level audit in February, and that will be done to verify that we have maintained our current CMMI maturity level, so that we can continue to do that, and then furthermore to continue to improve so that we can climb that ladder to go to other levels of CMMI maturity, showing that we really have taken to heart as a company all of these processes that we are looking at, these process areas, our processes, our policies, that we are doing them consistently. We are doing them the same way. We are doing them in the same manner across all projects. As we get new projects, they are done the same way, and that we seek to improve as we go to make ourselves more efficient and more competitive. Well then, why should I care? You get down to that question, well, why should I care? What does it matter to me? Well, many governmental agencies require CMMI certification in order to view you for eligibility for contracts. They are requiring certain levels of certification, and they require you to have it in order to even be able to bid on a contract. Furthermore, NDi as a firm is heavily dependent on government contracts. So it's very important that we maintain these CMMI maturity levels. When it gets down to the nuts and bolts of it, all of our jobs really do depend on this. So likewise, it makes us more efficient and competitive. It streamlines, defines, and refines our processes. Ultimately, we put out a better product. So why should I care? What does it matter to me? Well, first of all, as we said, our jobs depend on it. NDi depends on it. Likewise, when it comes down to the external audits, you very well might be one that's interviewed by one of the auditors. How do you process your time for a project? How do you record what you're doing? They may come around and interview individuals. So it's something to be prepared for. Know that it's coming up and that you're prepared. It's a good time at this point to start talking with your project manager to see how they can help you prepare should you be chosen to be interviewed by the external auditors. So why should I care? We should care as NDi, and we should care individually because we seek to do better. We seek to do better as a company, and we seek to do better as individuals. So we want to be more efficient. We want to be more competitive. We want to be more streamlined. We want our processes to be good. We want to put out a really good product. I can't imagine anybody getting into a race, so to speak, and getting into it to lose. We all seek to win something if we get into it. If we are a runner or we are a sports person and we get into a game or we get into a competition, we certainly seek to win the prize. And likewise, that's how we should be viewing this. We seek to win the prize. The prize here is keeping our CMMI certification, and likewise for us to keep our government contracts and to gain additional government contracts. It's very important for us. It's important for NDi. It's important for us as individuals. So at this time, I'd like to take any questions that you might have. Do I have any questions? Well, one question that has come up is, well, how do I know if I'm going to be interviewed? Well, that would be something that will be determined by the auditors and by your project manager, as well as there will be a team from NDi that is not associated with projects that will be part of this external audit and the risk assessment. So you will be notified so that you'll know that you're going to be interviewed. And certainly now is the time that you might want to be talking to your project manager to determine if that might be you. And they can certainly help you in that. And anyway, any other questions? Nope. All right. Well, we will then close this. And that's the training for the day. Thank you.